All right, we're going to call the meeting to order. And Stan,
My signature's too big.
Paul, would you lead us in the pledge?
Yes, sir. Please join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
All right, roll call, Mr. Howe.
Here.
Mr. Sigmund, Mr. Cox, we're all here. Anybody wanting to speak before the group or any correspondence?
There is no correspondence and there's nobody here that wishes to speak.
Okay, how about the minutes of the previous
Well,
meeting?
Before we move on, I would like, I don't think I need a motion or anything, but I need to move the item for short lines O&M agreement to the end of the agenda. This slide needs to come in.
Okay,
We don't have to sit through the whole meeting.
all right.
We need a
And we
motion.
also,
For agenda.
I think we can do it.
and then the other thing, I need to move the items for the HSA contributions in the lease agreement to executive session.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now
I'll make a
what are
motion.
we moving to executive session?
I'm going to move the short lines O&M agreement to the end of the agenda.
Right.
And I want the HSA contributions in the lease agreement in executive.
Oh, yes, okay, I got you. I thought you said lease agreement. All
Move
right.
to-
Move to,
The minutes as presented.
I second that. Okay, it's been moved and approved. The minutes as presented. All in favor, signify by say aye. Aye. Let's move right into the financial items. Jason, you, Jason.
On me?
JJ. Jason Jr.
All right. All right. We'll go to the information sheet. For comfortable at. All right. All right, we are at the end of March, we are 75% through the budget. And we had cash on hand at almost 3.8 million. Was an increase in cash of 1.1 million from prior fiscal year. Our restricted cash was 6.275 million. We had a decrease in liabilities of 204,666,000 at the end of the year. Our total bond debt currently right now that we have out there is $5,228,788. And we've paid on $175,000 on our bonds currently for this fiscal year. You're going to notice the debt service factor. I was telling Jason this last week when I ran the report. It's dropped down to 2.76%.
Yeah,
But the reason why, okay, if you go to the last page, the debt service requirement page back here, normally I provide you guys, but since I do this, I don't provide this when there's something big going on, okay? Because it's already information's already provided out there. Now, if you look, our last year's maximum annual debt service was $467,422 for $442. Now, since I've got the new debt service for the new bonds, I have, for the maximum debt service for accounting purposes, I have to recognize that we have this debt service out there now that even though the maximum means that'll be the next maximum amount for a fiscal year. So even though that maximum amount 2 years out, that's the one I have to recognize for the debt service. So that's the reason why we've dropped down to 2.67 now instead of being up around 7 something. So just that's the reason why, if you guys had any questions about that, that's what the big difference is.
it's pretty well explained. I don't have any questions. You guys have any questions on it?
Okay. And then water sales were, I'll make the rest of this quick.
Sure.
We were over budget by 4.21% of our water sales for our budget. And our total revenues are 4.41% over budget. And then our total operating expense is under budget by 8.14%. And as Pat Bobby on about him and his guys, he's got his chemicals used budgeted at right now we're only at 70.81% of the budget. So they're under budget on their chemicals as well.
So we were, any questions, guys?
I'll make a motion that we accept the financial items as presented.
Okay, it's been moved and duly seconded. We accept the report as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion is carried.
All you second that?
Yes, sir.
All right, moving right along here, the general manager's report, business matters. Up first under that block of the agenda, we got the water system improvements project phase 3A and 3B. We
Okay,
have on there now. So we got a project update from our very own Doug Smith. Doug, take it away.
A little bit, Bobby.
All right.
Oh.
So what are we on? Contract 2 is Doss, Staley and Hartman. They are down on Verdun, South Alexander. They'll be ready to test South Alexander and Verdun next week and start tying those people in, and they're going to continue out to Hartman and Magnolia and go up those two spurs up to 19. It's 6 inch, so they've got plenty of material to do that. 3 is D&M. They're on Armory Road today. They're dressing up, tearing out the old hydrants and valve boxes, concreting around the new valve boxes. They have one fitting to fix. That one, their foreman was off today. So they have that one fitting to fix at the bolt. And then that'll be totally, like they may have a day or two next week. They're going to asphalt the trenches. They were saw cutting them today to get them ready. The big project 4 is independent. They're up on Pike Street, doing tie-ins. They did a tie-in on Kelly today. They're going to move down and do that tie-in on South Florence tomorrow. We sent them an email about the trench repairs. They responded back that they would have that done this week. They have line laid all the way to Monticello and all the way from Monticello back to Hardy. So they anticipate next week, what he tells me, they're going to start putting saddles on to run service.
Yeah.
And they'll, as they get a section done, they'll energize and test. Start tying people on. So we need to do the forms for the customer side soon. We talked about that the other day.
Yeah. Where are we at with that, Doug, on, you said we're gonna go do an RFQ, request for qualifications for the plumbers.
Yeah.
Start compiling our list.
We should be ready to send that out any day. You know, we did another run through on the qualification part. Kind of surprised. I thought it was gonna be out today. So I'll find out when the actual publication day is, but it's ready to go.
How long do you have to run that for?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah. We can part.
What are their qualifications? Some of them are.
Basically, the qualifications are they gotta have a West Virginia license, they gotta have a City of Clarksburg license, they've gotta have the insurance requirements. I don't think the insurance requirements are quite as stringent as we did for the big contractors, but they're probably, basic for any type contractor, about $1 million, something like that. They've also got assigned agreements that they will conform to the Davis-Bacon wage, those type of things. We've also got a packet ready to hand to them so that they have to conform with the lead service line stuff as well. So there's a whole little packet ready for those guys. They're ready.
Can they be general contractors or they have to be plumbers as well?
They can be general contractors, but they've got to have a plumbing license.
plumbing license.
Yes.
General covers plumbing, you just have to have a
Service.
certification.
Yeah.
Card.
I've had a few people ask.
And the reason we're not saying it's not coming in bid solicitation, because we've already got the prices of what we're willing to pay. And you wanna go over that, I think
Yeah.
kind of fine tune.
So here's the way it works, is that what we've got are different rates set for what they're going to sell. And I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but if they've got a short service, the main line is on the same side as the houses to be served. So let's just call it, they're the line that,
Up to 15 feet.
yeah, if it's up to 15 feet, it's $3,500. And the way we come up with that is, we said just for them to get out on site costs some amount of money. And then we looked at it and said, what is the average cost that we're paying our current contractor to do that same type of service, and allowed that cost? So it's $3,500. If it's 15 to 25 or 30, whatever the next number is, it's a set cost. If the plumber can come in and do it for $1,000, they get the extra money. If they come in and do it.
But if you advertise what the rate is.
Yeah, I mean,
Who's going?
They know what
to
they're
say,
getting.
they know ahead of time what the cost is.
Right. He's saying what they'll make.
Yep.
It's a set price. You're only gonna get it.
35.
And our inspectors will measure it. We're not gonna let you zigzag through the yard, do you use 100 feet.
Right.
And
Straight
so
line.
we'll look at stuff as well as like,
How about parking pads and stuff like that?
we have a unique cost, so if there's something unique there, such as if you got to cross sidewalks, if you've got and something that may be unique, but we don't even have a cost for, such as maybe they've got a retaining wall that they've got to deal with, those will be individually addressed with the contractor. To be fair, we don't want to tell somebody, that laying 25 feet across a flat yard is the same as laying 25 feet having to deal with oak trees.
Obstacles.
Yes. So again, we're trying to be good stewards of your money and at the same time being fair to the contractors that are out there.
And you had a lady in Staley that asked, her service was in her garage. She was worried about her driveway and her garage door. If we can go a different route,
That's
to
what
get
I
into
tell
her
people,
basement,
ask me, I
we
said,
would do
we may
that.
have to go around the parking pad, we may have to go around the tree, go to the side of the house rather than straight.
We should set the new pits behind, if they had a retaining wall right behind their house sidewalk, we're to get it out of the sidewalk, so we'll be in their yard already, so most of the work's gonna be on the the contractor.
Yeah, and that's a good point is we will look at some places where pits may have been improperly placed before. I know we had that in Morgantown a lot, that for some reason, they were set 20 feet back or whatever. We're going to do our best to make sure they get set on the property line where they're supposed to be set.
So have uniformity if you
Yes,
can,
sir.
not have one here like
And
this.
just try to kind of straighten up. While we're there, might as well do the work where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Are we trying to not put them in the sidewalk?
If you can avoid it, it's a
We
good
can
thing.
avoid it. In town, you obviously can't. That's why we're getting the recessed reader lid.
I walk the neighborhoods a lot. The ones that are not in the sidewalk are tilted. Lids look like they're popping up. Sometimes they're overgrown with grass. Do you think that'd be a problem long-term with?
It can be, but my bigger concern is the ones that are in the sidewalk and the lids don't get put back properly. People step in them, break ankles,
Or trip over.
trip over them, those type of things. I'm amazed that you guys don't have an issue.
Well, I mean, they're flat other than the antennas we try to put on.
Well, the
which is a
antenna will
bad
be
idea.
recessed now.
Yeah.
It's in the sidewalk. We do have, what do we have, 100?
You have some that stick up like this.
We have 100 some that are actually gotta be in the sidewalk still. We have no choice.
But my intention is we try to put them on the property line because then you have the proper demarcation of what is the customer side, what is your side. If that property line is in the middle of the sidewalk, that's where the pit goes. Okay, so yeah, I think you want to try, because the PSC rules say that the meter pit should be as close as possible to the property. And we're going to take it. I don't think you guys have a real problem with that for the most part. I have seen the stuff that I've walked around and looked at. But my only thing is, if for some reason someone set a meter pit, way back in a garage or at the back of the house where it should be set in the front, then we'll make those corrections.
Yeah, Paul and I talked about it. Cost is a factor because we can't use the same meter well.
Right.
Because we gotta set another one.
Yes.
So then you've gotta tear the sidewalk up, abandon one and.
That's all in. That cost is already in there.
We
They have an
cost
item
it.
for that.
But if they don't have to do that, it saves money on the project.
I know in Golf Plaza, we looked at a few of them, they call to go in the yard, but they're gonna have to go back in the sidewalk because the yard is on like a 2-to-1 slope and the property line is at the top of the slope, so we don't wanna put it in that slope.
Right.
So, and then we had to move the fire hydrant. One guy refused to have a fire hydrant in his front yard. So we put it back out on the sidewalk behind one of the light poles. So it's in line with the light pole, so it's not obstructing the sidewalk. So we work with them. I'm not gonna fight him over, but
I had a lady call from down in Heartland. I guess she must have been out there watching everything they were doing. And I guess it was up out of the ground about 8 inches. She said she did not want that sticking up out of the ground like that by her house. She
The
wanted it
meter
down flush.
or the hydrant?
Hydrant. So I guess she went out there and talked to the contractor and they got it down flush with the ground.
they probably brought the ground up first.
There
They have
She
buried
was
lines
happy. She
on them.
called,
It's
she left me a
hard to-
message and then she called back and says, you don't need to call me back. They fixed it.
You can add, hard as can't subtract.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in, you're going under a utility or.
She doesn't understand you can't cut them things.
No,
They're already.
We're bound by what's already in the ground. We gotta go around them, so, but for the most part, people have.
And for most of the part, correct me if I'm wrong, Bobby, the sizes are usually the barrels in them are usually increments of.
I think you can go
A foot,
as slow as
4 foot,
4
5 foot.
I think 4 foot.
But I mean, you go-
We have a standard 4 foot, but we can get, at this, we can get.
You can get a 12-inch
Yeah,
extension.
12
Yeah,
inches. We have
6
several
extension.
on east end that need to be extended
Right.
because we had to go under the existing gas line.
But my point is, you're not able to change that height by 2 inches or 3
No.
inches. You're changing it by a foot one way.
If she doesn't like it sticking up, you know, you can do is kind of mound up. to-
The minimum's 4 feet. You can't take away from that.
No, you can't get away from
So that's where we're at on 3A.
Okay, and just to add to Doug, the CWB staff and Thrasher's team had a scoping meeting on phase 3B project on
Scoping
April the 14th. Do you want to explain for Al and folks watching?
Yeah.
About what a scoping meeting is?
Yeah, so what we did, we looked at the work that we did on phase 3A. We know with 3B, we want to try to talking with Jason and Girls Group, we want to try to get rid of the rest of the remaining known lead service lines in the next phase. And so we know that estimated cost for that alone is about $19 million. And so then we sat down and said, okay, as we do that, let's try to figure out how much main lines we want to replace at the same time while we're doing this work. So we sat down with your staff and we went through problematic areas and where we're going to have these pipes. And we just kind of put together, I don't want to say a complete wish list, but let's look at all the problem areas. We're going to put together an estimate for each of these areas. We're going to try to mark them off and say things such as where this one we said, 3A, we said, if there are 67% of the street of the lead service lines are being replaced, then we want to take a very strong look at replacing main lines in there. I don't know that we'll be able to do that with the next section. So we said, well, let's start at 67. And then let's say if it's 80%, 90%, what is the magic number? Then we'll bring it back to you, kind of a matrix, and just see what your desire is for a total project in that. And then we'll be able to tell you, okay, we're going to replace, 2,400 service lines and 10,000 feet of pipe, 40,000 feet of pipe, 100,000 feet of pipe. And so we're working through that right now, so we'll be able to bring you back a project for you guys.
The lead service lines are really non-negotiable, right? They're supposed to come out. So the next step, so I understand elementary people are watching, where you have main lines run through the streets and so on. That's the question.
Yes, sir.
Some places may not be in such a bad shape that we can get by with it. We find that we have to cut some corners.
Right.
We just have to figure out how much of the main lines we want to do in the streets, basically.
So,
And then also we have the factor of replacing the galvanized lines and so on after lead service lines, which has to be factored in.
and that has been.
But the lead service lines and the galvanized lines, well, there's no choice. We have to do it or offer on the lead service, on the galvanized.
Right.
We'll do it, but if they refuse us, we can't help it. They just have to sign off on it for the customer.
And as part of this, that $19 million, I actually had Kathy Emery from the SRF program at the DEP to contact me and say, hey, the first bundle of money that they got for lead service line replacement, they need a project to be able to spend that money or they would lose it. And we put together a project. So the timing worked out great. I've already submitted a letter to her saying she had $15 or $16 million available. And this is 49% debt forgiveness, 51% of the project can be 0% interest with 30-year term. And so she had about 15 million of it, and I went ahead and on your behalf, I submitted a letter requesting $19 million because that's what our project for just lead service lines alone is. And that we would like to expedite that and put together that project as soon as possible. So she is submitting that to the EPA to earmark, hopefully get that money set aside for you guys.
That's good.
Now, what that'll mean is we will hopefully, if it goes through, then what we'll get is the $15 or $16 million from her 2022 money that she had left over. And then the rest of it will be supplied by her 2023 money that she still has. Okay. So two different pots of money there, but as far as we're concerned, transparent doesn't bother us either.
How much is grant again and how much is loan?
49% will be grant debt forgiveness and 51% of it would be 0% interest on a 30-year term,
Debt forgiveness is a grant.
basically.
Now, that's what I don't want any tricky words.
Well,
If you
it
get a
is.
grant, you get money. I mean, it's.
It is. Here's the difference,
Okay.
is that technically speaking, you're taking out a loan. And then each month that you're, and Shelby, you help me if I'm incorrect here, you basically get your payment forgiven. Okay?
So you draw down or something.
It's a revolving loan fund,
Yes.
so it's called a principal forgiveness loan, but you're not responsible for the principal to be paid back
Right.
on that portion
How
of it.
about it? And no debt, no interest or charges?
I believe there's a 0.25% admin fee,
There has to be, because they have expenses.
so it's zero interest, but 0.25%
Well,
admin fee.
that's very reasonable, more than
Yeah.
reasonable.
A
Okay.
banker would certainly say that.
Yeah, it's a banker, the banker in me coming out, I want to make sure, I was watching the money.
And it is, because it is a very technical fine line of whether it is principal forgiveness versus grant. The practical part of it is, it's a grant.
Well,
Yeah.
like right now, we've got the grant money,
Yes.
24 million or something, and the other 30-some million is in loans, but they're 30, 40-year loans at 0.25 to 0.75.
Right.
Well less than 1%, 30, 40 years.
Yes,
So it's really favorable.
yes. And we're going to try to approach that sort of
Similar, same
funding
way.
scenario exactly the same way.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that you all understand phase two, which we appointed 3B. We are going to get rid of all remaining lead service funds on phase two.
Yes.
Okay, we're getting rid of all of them.
Yes.
The reason we're doing that, and Doug and I's talked, I don't think it's gonna be there when we get to 3C, if we get to 3C.
Run out of money.
Well, I think they're gonna start pulling some of this back as the people, either they, and which surprised us because that's why there's still money left in fiscal year 22,
There's no
but she has nobody coming after it. And we know we're not the only ones here. I mean, the only ones we know of is Salem
Salem.
and us. We know there's lead lines out
We're
there.
fortunate.
We are very fortunate, with your guidance and, we've decided to go to this next phase and try to take advantage of that, because if we don't take advantage of this 15 million that she has available, then they lose that money and it goes back to EPA. And then they'll look at next year's and go, well, if you didn't need that, we're not gonna give it to you.
Make it hard for the next.
Yes. And so we certainly want to be good stewards with the money. We want to try to help them spend the money very effectively. And I think we got a good project coming up here.
So he and I, we've been talking a lot, especially going into 3B. And after I heard your concern,
You heard me. We talked about this.
you had some issues because I said, we're not gonna be bidding out the next phase for another 2 years. And he says, wait a minute, I thought we were gonna do this every year. So Doug and I regrouped and I said, Doug, we need to push.
Yeah, we
He
do.
says, man, I said, we've got to have the design done by the end of this year so we can go to construction next year. And he says, we'll do it.
But our conversation is exactly is what's happening.
Yeah, he says we're gonna do it. So that's why we're
A
moving
real
forward with
concern, a
3B.
real concern that financing was going to be there the way we needed it.
Yeah.
And then we come down and we're mandated on lead service lines, and the third section, we don't have it.
Right.
Let's move it all in to get it done. That's our number one priority.
Absolutely.
And it was my
We're mandated.
understanding,
Yes.
it was my understanding talking to all three of you, we've kind of had it set in our head that we're gonna do about $100 million worth of work. We're probably gonna cut it off there. So with the first phase, it's 59 million, but remember, 24 million of that is grants. So we really only have 35 million
Yeah.
here. So I've kind of set the cap at 50 million for phase two. So we're gonna stay there. And that's what he's already
We're trying
communicated
to
back
get that grant.
Yes.
Yeah, now of that, and I'll be speaking to that here in a little bit here, but yes, we know we've got $10 million already set there with that $50 million price tag. So we got 10 million already. So, we have submitted CDS, which is Congressional Directed Spending. Grant applications have been submitted to, as of Friday, Congressman Riley Moore, okay? 3 million we're asking from him. One went out yesterday. That was Senator Shelby Moore Capito, another 3 million from her. And then Friday, we have another one to go out to Senator Jim Justice for 3 million. So The reason you don't ask for what we've learned in the past, you don't give them a big number because you'll end up getting kicked out. So we put some reasonable numbers in there. So if we get 1 out of 3 out of them, or get 2 out of 3 of them, that's $3 to $6 million that we don't.
That's
That our
our
ratepayers
We need to
don't
get
have to
more
pay
of that.
back.
Have we gotten the 6.3 yet from Shelley's first fund?
Yes. Yes, we
It's
have.
been funded somewhere where we,
It's in phase 3A.
and we're drawing down on that.
Yes.
If you can imagine, and God bless Shelby, I mean, this funding stuff, her and Jason's been working well together. You know, especially these last couple requisitions, because the money's coming from many different places.
Right.
And they all hit the accounts in different ways. So they're working back and forth pretty closely, and I'm really proud of those two. I mean, they're working really good together. Communicating, this money came in from the governor's office, this money came in from EPA, this money came in from WDA. Today, we got a WDA check, it didn't come to us, it went to the city for $1.2 million. So Jason had to get out and grab it.
Get you down and grab it for us.
I ran down there.
So I don't know where the heck out there is, I don't know why we're getting paper check, everything used to be wired in, I don't know, Shelby and Jason will have to work with Marie
Hey, I'm
and
just,
see what's going on down
I'm
there.
just, even though it got mailed to there, I'm just glad the check got made out to us.
Yes.
And not have them have to cash it and then reissue the check, because that takes.
The city's been really good to work with because they've actually got a check in their name for us, and they just ran it right through their account, got us a check out to Clarksburg.
But that takes more time because you're looking at, wait for those 5 days to clear, and then we gotta get that money back from us and wait for 5 days to clear, so we're 10 days out before we can give them the money, because we wanna make sure there's no hiccups with it.
Can we stop that from happening?
Well, they finally got the wiring issue because they were getting our wires in, where they wire the money in. It was going to the city's account. Again, once it hit, they'd call Jason and say, hey, we got your money. And they'd cut him a check out of their account, give it to him. That's been fixed. Shelby got that fixed. But now I don't know why Marie's money's coming in paper check.
I
guess
can't
it's-
tell you, but we're working on it.
I was
They'll get
talking,
it fixed.
We'll get it fixed.
speaking of the city, I was talking to Paul before the meeting, apparently we're the news source for the city as well with our posts and everything.
That's what I was
Because
telling
every
Bob.
time anything happens, like the big thing collapsed down in Pike and,
West End.
West End, down in the corner there, going around to Adamston. The odd thing is this Clarksburg Water Board did this, Clarksburg that. I get more people ask me, what the hell you do? What'd you, you tore up the street and you caused the line? We had nothing to do with it. We just had a line through there. But because we're releasing it all, it's just like us sending out bills for the sewage. We get all the grief on it and we don't have anything to do with it other than collection of the water, collection of the water. So anyway.
The last thing, and I'll let Shelby get a couple words in here, is the EPA site visit for phase 3A project on April the 17th. They went to her office on the 16th, so you can tell them about your visit. But, so let's start, since they visited you first, how was that?
It was sweet and simple. We laid out some of the documents, like the requisition packets, some of the Davis-Bacon certified payroll information, and then let them look at it and review it. They didn't raise any red flags. They were happy with it. They were there for
Great.
probably less than an hour. And I talked to Joe afterward. He said everything was good, so.
Perfect. Of course she
Congratulations, that's
does.
great.
She does a good job. So then, that was on the 16th, 17th, morning up, we had a meeting with them at Thrasher's office, and Doug, I'll let you.
Yeah, seemed to be pretty, again, pretty lighthearted, good conversation. We went over our process, what we plan to do and what they were gonna see out in the field. They wanted to go to Chestnut Street and Pike Street where the two emergencies were. And we described, well, you're gonna go take pictures of pavement. And they said, yeah, we know, but we gotta take pictures so we can show people we were there. They were gonna stop at the other sites where there's actual work. They made it clear that they were not there for enforcement. They were simply there to document because they are part of the funding agencies to say, yes, this money is being used for the installation of a water line as we
The
said it was
intended
going to
purpose.
be used for. I think everything went smooth. I didn't hear of any issues with it. As far as I'm concerned, I think everything went pretty good. No issue.
It was Joe Schoenkamp, you've probably heard of that name, that's the guy we've been working with pretty closely. He's over Senator Capito's money, that's funneling through the EPA.
Did he stop by here?
He didn't stop by here, he drove by because he needed to get pictures of our signs out here and stuff.
With the Thrasher.
We went to Thrasher's office. Yeah, very impressed with him. Very, very nice guy.
Super nice guy.
He had his coworker that I didn't get his name,
Sasha.
Sasha.
And the thing too is, not only is he over, like, Shelley, he's over all of the SRF money, is my understanding,
At least for West
at least for West
Oh,
Virginia.
good, because I know,
Yeah.
we've been talking to him about Shelley's, money coming through, so
Yeah.
he's over all the.
Yeah, so I think
He
he's,
works for the DEP for their
Yes.
money.
Hey, that's good.
yes,
That makes me feel a little bit better, because I thought we had to deal with somebody else.
no, he is the guy in charge of the funding that comes to
Great,
West Virginia. So
great.
again, from my perspective, good guy, easy meeting.
Yeah.
Very personable.
Mhm.
We never had.
Definitely there to help us. that's for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
Definitely there to help us. We walked through that was the biggest part of our meeting was replacing the customer service line and the different steps that we have to do. So between Steve and Doug, they really drilled down on that and we're doing it the right way.
We should anticipate another inspection once I'm guessing probably somewhere between 9 and 12 months from now, because we'll still be in construction and we'll be deep into, at that point, shelling out $2-3 million a month kind of stuff. So I would expect them to show up at that time to get more in depth. Now, maybe not even this crew, maybe someone from enforcement or someone from compliance and to take a look at it, but we should not expect this with their one and only business. And again, I think we're doing it, I think Shelley and her crew are doing fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I think the contractors are doing what they're supposed to be, so we have nothing to be afraid of.
The magnitude of this project, I figured I get calls occasionally and I gotta give kudos to Bobby Tinney back there. He knows I'm not an 8 to 4 person. He learned that early. He's like, are you still at work? This is like 8 o'clock at night. And he still answers the phone. And we had to call him out the other night because we had a little mishap there on Army Road. And Buddy, he was just right behind me getting there. So Bobby, I appreciate the good working relationship that we have. Excellent at his job. And
Those reports are real good.
he's one of the best inspectors. I don't blow his head up. I've been in this business.
Let's go easy.
You haven't heard what I've been doing for trash. You know the beginning.
I've been in this business for 25 years and I've worked with a bunch of Thrasher inspectors, some good ones, but I'd have to say you're the best. Just saying.
Thank
I have to say you're the
I know
best.
the news they stole our report too and put it out.
Yeah, see, he's.
Make sure, I'm gonna have
He's
to
gonna-
really get up on my grammar and pictures and everything.
I said, I got you.
I thought it was just you was seeing it, and then next thing you know, it's on the news. Yeah, so-
I got it covered. I'll make sure I go
Yeah, so
through.
we pick good pictures. We wanna make sure we don't put anybody out there in a bad spot.
When I first glanced at those pictures, I said, whose basement are they working in?
Yeah,
I realized you were under the
Yeah, we were
basement.
under the road. That was actually a storm line that collapsed.
But, now we're out on, 20 and, Main Street.
Mhm.
And that's where it's gonna be done at night.
It's daytime. Daytime as much as it can be. They were gonna make us go night. The gas company
Well,
got.
I thought that was gonna be done. at
No,
night.
the gas company got clearance to go daytime, so we just piggyback. If they give it to them, they give it to us. It's better during the day. I mean, traffic's worse, but if you have an issue like that, somebody's gonna show up.
I noticed we seem to be putting some blacktop down to kind of level with it, even with the road as much as we can.
We just had that discussion today with the contractor. The state was out the other day and didn't like the trenches, so by the end of the week, they're to get, east end is supposed to get leveled up. That concrete section that we done there, we're gonna overlay it. When we got one more storm line to lay, I didn't give an update on that because it was storm and
Sure.
sewer. We do have a water line there, but Bobby was down the other day when we had that big implosion. We had to support it and it cracked and we're gonna replace that line. We've got prices for about.
I know Chestnut to Elm,
We're right, it's 3. I don't know why you said
That's
4.
$10,000.
Monticello, coming up from Monticello
Yeah, that's
up over
rough.
the hill.
That's gonna
That
get,
whole, all the way to Elm, is really,
it's gonna get.
the road is like, the whole road.
You swerve to miss, like Doug said, you swerve to miss the trench and you hit a DOH pothole, so you. Yeah, so.
Pick your poison, huh?
Yeah, poison.
Shelby, do you have anything to add on that project?
He was big on he was big on the Baba stuff when he came out. He spent a good, well, he only had one project to look at, was Doss, because Bear hasn't started, so I think when Bear gets started, they may want to come back, but he spent a good half hour or more down at Dawson's Yard going through all their materials, checking, opening boxes and looking at. They only had one thing that was some extra gaskets that they had just brought over from somewhere in case they needed them, and they were laying there. So they were made in Vietnam. So they're the gasket out the end of the pipe. They were just extras.
They were removed from the job site.
Yeah,
were
they
they?
were in.
Yeah. And so BABA is, Buy American, Build American.
That's,
Anything
he was
else?
pretty thorough. That's probably the most thorough thing he was on, was the Baba.
The only thing I want to add, because if you look at the minutes from last time, that we spoke about the governor's non-federal appropriations for the CDS money. We've got our first drawdown there, so not like Governor Justice did, where he would just write the check for the whole amount and give it to the agency. They're going to do drawdowns, which is fine. I mean, Shelby does the paperwork anyway. So they are not going to give us the full amount. We're going to have to take it down as she does the draws. But it was quick. I mean, once they approved it, I think on that Monday, I think Wednesday, he had to deposit it.
But it's not one of those things with like 30, 45 days. or
Oh, no,
something.
no, they were very quick in processing it.
Well, that's, we were like 2 months behind until they got this first.
But once I
amount.
sent the email about the urgency of getting that money, they turned it around pretty quick. So I would think we got over the hurdle. So now when she sends it, she knows to send it to Jamie, and which is the CFO for the governor's office, and they'll get it processed immediately. So I think we got over the hurdle now.
If we have delays, let us know, so we can make sure that we are prompting the contractors that we've got some delay.
Okay.
Yeah, they need to know.
Dawson's been reaching out to us about that.
Okay.
Did he pick his check?
I don't know, I left the check out front,
Yeah,
so
they
they were
let us
supposed to.
check out front those. I'm sure they usually once they.
Well, this, their CFO, he knew about it, because I emailed Shelby
Oh,
back.
you also emailed.
Yeah, so he knew, so, and then I think I told you about it, so.
Yeah. So yeah, you notified them. and then you
Someone
notified
from their office was over Monday on the project. Tuesday morning.
them. They probably stopped by.
So we were late getting payments this first go round, right?
Yeah, for that.
So if that's the case, they were behind. Now we make the payment. We're probably behind already starting again, are we not? That bring everything up.
We're, at this point, by the time the deposit I made today, only thing we're waiting on is the EPA money. That's the only thing we're waiting on is the money from EPA. Everything else will be paid after, by next Tuesday, everything will be up to date.
My point is, are we always going to be running behind, even though they're paying quickly? Are we always going to be behind? Like a month or two?
We like to say.
Well,
not.
there's a cutoff date for the pay act, so that
Yeah.
covers a certain range of dates that they work, and then there's usually a 2-week delay between that cutoff and the day that you approve it, and then it's a 30-day
Okay, there's a 30-day
until the
window.
payment from that point. So,
I mean,
when you approve the payment, they're already in the next pay app range.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're not behind right now, is what you're telling me.
We won't be, except for from EPA money, we'll be behind until we get.
It's probably coming.
And once we start getting once we start getting the payments for that, I feel like we'll be able to get those a more regular, but we haven't got the first payment yet, so it's just
Okay.
take a
Is
month
that
for
through
that.
the ASAP system drawdown?
Yeah, so the project officer, Mr. Schulenkamp, will approve it, and then I have to submit it again on ASAP, and I'm just waiting on that initial approval.
And I figure that's what we're waiting on. It's on that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. And I think once we get over that hurdle, it'll probably flow a lot easier, because she has to log into a separate system and do the, do the work, and then, yeah, it's a little cumbersome. That's why I said, God bless her.
Is there anything else on 3A or 3B?
Yes, the next item, we're consider all actionable items, including, but not, read all that stuff there. So the actionable item for this section is there is a reimbursement resolution that you have, that you will see there. And I want to tell you why you're seeing that. So our plan, as we discussed, is to immediately start on the design of phase 3B. Okay? The goal is to go out to bid possibly later this year or early 2026. Is to have the design done. Construction, we hope to commence, and I believe Doug and I talked about this, by no later than mid to late spring, right? So I am recommending to the board that we use our depreciation fund to pay the Thrasher Group for their design services. So they're going to invoice us throughout the year. Like, once they get to a milestone, they're going to invoice us. So I recommend to the board that we use our depreciation fund. I already had a discussion with our finance director. Again, that's to pay Thrasher for their design services. Okay, I'm also recommending that the board approve this reimbursement resolution that you have in front of you. This resolution will allow us to get reimbursed for all payments issued to Thrasher for their services for an amount not to exceed $1 million. Okay, so if you all approve it, the Tom Amon, who we're working with, Steptoe and Johnson, will communicate with the city of Clarksburg. So we got to go before the city of Clarksburg to have this resolution that you see in front of you here adopted by the Clarksburg City Council.
Basically, it's for the bonds.
Right, so what we want to do is make sure that we can capture any expenses, and I think I read in his email, though, actually from the date, if you adopt this today, we'll go back 6 months.
I thought it was 60 days.
60 days.
Is it 60 days? I'm
Yes.
sorry, I must have read something different there. 60 days, so they'll go back and capture anything. Glad you clarified it, because I had 6 months. I thought that was long. I thought that was kind of a long time, but hey, I always want to take it. So that's my recommendation. Again, Jason says that's not gonna put us in a pinch. We have money there. And $1 million special if I get reimbursed back when we close on the bond.
Jason, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
I second that.
Been moved and seconded. We've pretty thoroughly learned what it's about. Okay, when we do these things, do the current bondholders have to be notified of new indebtedness and things as we do? They don't have
Not
to.
that I'm aware of.
Unless we drop below 1.15.
A motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
And you need a motion to direct to pay Thrasher out of the depreciation fund?
Probably wouldn't hurt.
Make a motion that
Okay.
way.
Motion to pay Thrasher out of the
Pay Thrasher out of the
depreciation fund.
Second.
Seconded by Paul. Any further discussion? We've had discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
I think it's unanimous.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Snake Hollow Road. Though there's too much to update there. We're kind of waiting for that to start right
Yep,
around
start
May
midnight.
19th.
That's my update.
That's what I figured. And the only thing is I just wanted to show you as things come in. I think Shelby was out. They sent it to me. I don't know why. I guess, yeah, they sent us stuff to me, but I sent it to you and I signed it. They had to do, and you may have to add color to this or you can. We had to do a notice of change, which is they refer to as amendment number 2, and it was to increase the award $305,000 for construction and construction contingency. Because I thought we were way under bid, but they increased.
Well, you got a grant for the design and upfront costs, and then they give you more money for the construction once the contract's awarded.
Okay.
Yep.
See,
So your like original grant commitment was a much smaller amount than you really needed, but it was committed, it just wasn't like on pen and paper committed.
so this will be the last change because now they got the contract amount for the construction.
It should be.
Pending anything that may happen along
Change
the way.
So they piecemeal the money,
What's that?
what I consider piecemeal. They just,
In their mind, there's 2 parts of it. Same thing you do with FEMA, and that is they do a design portion, and after the design portion is finished, and they look at it and agree to it, then they do a construction.
And that's the 305,000. that they-
yeah, they increased it, yeah. So I guess the total is what, $424,000 for this
So we're increasing.
total.
We'd have to make a motion on this.
No, I already,
It's
I
not
already-
ours.
It's just award.
No, I already
Because it's
signed
coming
it.
from the
Yeah.
mine people, my recommendation.
yeah, I didn't want to stall anything.
Okay,
So I went ahead and signed it, but I just want you all to know,
okay.
when I sign documents, I want you to have a copy of it.
Any else on, anything else on?
No, we're done with that one.
Okay, let's move on then to Second Street.
I'm not sure how much update you have on Second Street.
Second Street, we have been waiting on them to sign and submit their performance and payment bonds. We actually got those today. They were incorrect. I sent them, well, Casey, who was working on want to send them back a letter of frustration that it took an extra 2 weeks to get this in to start with. And they had two numbers transposed, like, for instance, they said the bond amount is 340,000 or 350,000. And then the bid is 361,000 or something like that. So the bond, if they'd had it flipped and the bond amount was higher than the bid amount, I wouldn't have worried too much about it.
Yeah.
But there was like a $21,000 difference. And they only sent us one copy, which normally I would live with, because we'd record that one, give you the original when it comes back. But the fact that they gotta make the change anyway, we sent a little nasty grant that said, fix this and send us 3 originals.
Okay.
So, and we told them we would like to see that expedited, and that should hopefully get here within the next week.
Okay.
I see we do have an invoice that we have to probably approve. The Thrasher,
Yes, yep, that's under the consider, yep.
that's for the.
Has it been ordered? Has the,
No,
okay, so are we still on?
because we don't have truly, we don't have a contract signed with them yet. Okay? You have approved the bid amount, but until we get the bid bonds in hand so we can verify everything, there has been no signing of contracts yet. Okay?
All right, so under the actionable items, Thrasher does have an invoice in there, and the invoice number is 1037016, and it's for the amount of $47,000 even. I recommend approval.
I make a motion that we approve, the invoice number 1037016 in the amount of $47,000 to the Thrasher.
Second, it's been duly seconded. Any further discussion? We've had a lot of discussion. All in favor, say aye.
This
All right.
for, is this for that project there, the pump station?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, we got the TTHM removal project. Just to save me from go into too much detail, you have the meeting notes that Kelly put together and sent yesterday, so I won't bore you with it. You can kind of see what we talked about. The only update from the meeting notes that you have here in front of you is she did send us 4 questions today. These questions were directed for the single source request that we put in. So Bob and Tom met this afternoon and went through all of those 4 bullet points that we have to respond back to. So I assume Tom's going to be sending me that later today. Bob, is that correct?
I would say, yeah.
So I'm going to clean it up and then want to send it back to her tomorrow so we can get this thing turned around.
How about the approvals of the state? I didn't catch that.
This is federal.
Or TH and under this project, don't we have to get something from?
No, Bob checked with the Fairmont office. This is kind of out of there. We don't have to get the Bureau of Public Health to approve this product. Am I correct on that, Bob?
Yeah, the only thing they want us to do is send them $300 so that they have set of plans on record.
Of course.
But the
So we don't have to have their approval.
the approval to our the contractors, they keep waiting and waiting.
Correct.
That's what I'm talking about.
We've been in constant contact with them. Bob talks to them just about every other day, so we've kept them apprised on the developments and stuff. Bob actually had to call them today to get some information to answer those questions that they sent us.
Because I mean, it's the urgency is there. That's the only.
I feel pretty confident we're going to get approved. But we can't, there are going to be some other questions that you and I are going to have to work on. But we can't get to those questions until we get the sole source provider
Approved.
approved. Once we get that approved, then we can work with Wiggins Engineering. Because one of the things you probably read in here is we got to revise our budget, put more detail in it. So I said, once they get that, we can work with Wiggins and get everything. There really wasn't a lot because you did a good job putting the grant application together. So there really
Is there a
wasn't.
time limit for us or under pressure? Because we got that.
No,
one
they
late.
said no later than
3.8.
late spring, June would be the latest. I said, well, we're going to have this stuff turned around and back to you within a day or two. She said, well, if you can do that, it may be sooner than that.
Okay.
So that's the goal.
It'd be a shame
When
if
they
we don't
send
get
the
this thing happen with all that money.
Because they know we want to get that equipment on the clear well by at least mid-July. We've got to get it in there before August. That's our worst month.
When it gets hot. Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions, guys?
Anything to add to that?
I'm just working through the list of things to revise, so Had Jason sign a couple forms today and, we'll continue to do that.
And I think one of those, that's for this one here,
The lobby one.
that was one, also you see it in
You
there.
signed it just now.
This girl, I'm telling you, just, she was out sick yesterday, God bless her. So I was surprised to
I
see
had
her
every
here.
intention of joining that call and it completely slipped my mind.
Cause I said, this is not like her. I was like panicking. So I'm like, calling, I called your phone and then I called in the office and she's out sick today. I went, that makes sense. I
Sorry
said,
about that.
that makes total sense. I was just scared for you. I didn't care. I can handle the call for you. Bob and I was on the call, so.
Now, the next item, we're moving to the end, so that's right.
That is correct, yes.
So we're going to the youth program.
Yes, just to let you know, this is just like the last memorandum of understanding we did when we had the youth pre-apprenticeship program here for the water operators in the water treatment department. This one here is down at the water distribution area. So, and I'm so proud of Bob Pizzini back there. Bob had his first public speaking engagement.
Uh-huh.
First and last.
I don't know if they want you to come back.
Not today.
See,
not tomorrow,
the word's
not
getting
this
around.
year.
In front of
So-
a bunch of educators, no less.
Yeah.
I've got an opening for public information officer. Put him in it.
God, I retired.
So we have Bob, the TV guy, and Bobby, the public information man.
Bob Davis actually got the floor first, so he kind of cleared the air before he got up there. So Bob got up, said his piece. Now Bob, he just shot from the hip and did a good job. And
He's
then
got
he
all
had
that
Trenton.
all that TV exposure.
Well, I mean,
I got experience.
he's just a natural. So then he had Trenton come up and tell me about his experience here.
Nice.
Then the
Wow, that
floor
was
opened
nice.
wide open for Pizzini, which had a prepared speech. And he just knocked it out of the park.
All right.
Way to go, Bobby.
No Fozzie Bear tomatoes or nothing.
I got us over there.
That's awesome.
Yes, he
Were
was
you
there. He witnessed it.
Is it true he began saying 4-score-and-7?
No, again, saying, I usually don't do this.
That's
shit.
exactly how he
Exactly what
started.
he said.
All right, guys, let's move on.
So, after that wonderful presentation, the board unanimously approved the memorandum of understanding. All that happened on April the 15th. So
Great.
remember that day, that's when it came out of a shell.
Tax day.
Yes.
Okay,
So my recommendation is to approve the memorandum of understanding and authorize our president to sign the document.
I move to approve.
I second that.
it's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We can sign it later.
All right. Now, Bob, you want to get up here and
Oh, I got it at the podium?
you got to do the podium. I think that's what you did last year.
Yep, this is pretty important.
So,
Everybody's been waiting on this.
Bob's gonna get on his grandstand here and he's gonna go over the chemical supply bids.
Well, I'm glad that we can use the podium.
We gotta get somebody use out of it.
There you go. 4 years ago,
See?
we brought forth this chemical bid. You guys have a copy of the new, this is actually the new bids that we just did on, Thursday. They all actually look pretty good. I mean, there was only a couple that were an increase, most of them decreased. Not by much, but every little bit counts, right? So I went back, the 9 months, the last 9 months that we had for chemicals, and based them off of the new chemical prices. And we would be saving about $21,000 with these new prices. So, you know, that's a lot better than nothing at all.
And that's just in the first 9 months.
Right, that's just not, the 9 months I can count for, that was pretty good.
So that's the minimum.
Yeah, mhm,
So
yeah,
we're actually gonna save a lot more, right?
right. Chlorine, it went down by $21 from last year. Potassium permanganate, it went down 20 cents a pound. We use quite a bit of potassium also. Fluoride, it went up $20 a ton. Carbon, it actually went down, so $1.01, it was 19 cents. Well, actually 0.019 cents a pound less than the previous year. Caustic went down $15 a ton. The polymer for the press stayed the same. The Delpac, it went up by 0.025 cents a pound. Sulfur stayed the same, which was $1.
And then phosphoric acid, that's where you saved a lot of your money at. It went down from 0.581 a pound to 0.41. So that, you know, that one there, I had it wrote down here. That was a savings of $16,000 right there for that one.
Majority of it.
Yeah, for 9 months. So, like I said, and all about figure, if you go, all the chemicals we spent this physical year, if you put in those new prices, we would be saving $21,000 for next year.
Okay,
I mean, they all look really good.
good job, Bob.
And they weren't real, yeah, like I said, usually you have one that's swings pretty good. It wasn't really one that swings there. Big prices.
Tariffs gonna affect any of this stuff?
I don't think so. I mean, not most. If anything, it'd be some of it's imported in here. But yeah, the rest of it is it's right here. There's been a trouble getting chlorine cylinders for the last 3 or 4 years. They just don't make them.
What do we rotate those? One's empty, they replace them, or they fill them up here?
No, they take them with them.
They take-
Yeah, what we do is when we get 6 empties, I call them an order, and then they bring us 6 new ones to take back to the city.
60, take out 60. Yeah. Any questions? What do you have questions on anything here? Anything on the purchasing?
No.
Okay,
Just
we're
need,
ready.
need the board's,
We're ready for a motion.
You done with me? Can I go sit back down?
you go sit back down.
No drum rolls, nothing?
Paul?
I'll make a motion to approve the bid, except for hectafluorosilicic acid, like the bid on it separate.
So, okay. So we're voting to approve everything but the fluoride, right?
Yes.
What's your motion?
I second that.
You second the
That-
whole?
Everything that Paul said.
Okay. There's been a motion on the floor to approve everything except the fluoride. And you said it's gonna be a separate vote or something?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna vote for purchasing all the chemicals. So anyway, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Except just the opposite. I'm voting for all of it. They're voting for everything but
Okay.
fluoride. Okay, that's clarified. Now, how about the second thing?
I make a motion that we do not accept the hectafluorosilicic acid bid.
Which is fluoride, right? Let's explain it so public can understand what it is, okay?
Well, I mean, that's what it is.
And that's the technical thing, but the general public, they wonder what that is. Okay,
It's a byproduct.
okay. What's your,
No, I agree. I'm not in favor of purchasing fluoride.
okay, you're not for it, okay, now, under discussion, so we can know, because this is a very significant motion, I think you all agree. You've been very passionate about it for years. And what's the urgency of doing that today?
Well, I've actually been voting against this for 20 years.
I gotta say that.
You know, I'll ask the general manager after we vote on this to put it on the agenda for discussion, whether we want to continue fluoridating water or not. So we can have no discussion, public knows about it
So you want,
on the next meeting.
you want discussion and action?
So wait, okay, I have a question though. When you voted to do this but not purchase fluoride, you're saying we're not going to purchase, it, right? That's your motion.
Yes.
So if we're not going to purchase fluoride, is that in essence,
Say we're not gonna.
that shows your intent that you're not going to do any fluoridation of water?
Correct.
But you're also going to have some public input to follow.
Well, yeah, if there's some reason we decide, we can pick up this bid and buy it, but I'm not voting for it.
Okay,
We'll have discussion on it. It'll be an open meeting.
but your vote today is already remove the fluoride. I mean, we're not going to be doing it anymore.
I've
Well,
done been
we're
doing
not
this
gonna purchase it.
for 20 years. I've been voting that.
Oh, I know you have.
Okay, call the question.
Does that mean that that's the correct motion? I mean, is that's your passion? You know, we go ahead and vote on this. We've taken it out. We have resale customers and everybody else. And I know we're talking about public opinion, but you've already taken a vote not to buy fluoride. In essence,
Bobby,
that
how much fluoride do we have?
we have a year's
We'll have
supply.
enough for a year.
Okay,
So we have it,
call the question.
Yeah, that's what I want to be, if I can say something.
but he's
It's to
locking
be
the price.
upfront with, because the last time we did this, a lot of people thought we'd quit feeding it.
I know,
And
We
we
did.
haven't, we're not quit feeding it.
right.
We have enough to feed for a year. They're just saying, we're not going to approve the bids for the next
If you
year.
had to get rid of it, you couldn't just dump it down the drain, could you?
No, no, sir.
I
No,
understand.
there's a whole
I
thing here. You
understand
have to
that.
apply to the state and all that stuff. So that's why I say, we're not quitting today.
Right. No, I understand. I understand. We're
Yeah.
not
Well, I'm
turning
trying to
it
get
off
to the
today,
public
But
is who I am.
a vote
Yeah.
to not buy fluoride is a vote to not put it into the water at some point. Right? Truly.
Call the question.
So your motion is to reject that bid.
And it was duly seconded.
Okay, I'm running the meeting, Paul.
I
Okay,
call-
it's been,
Call the
okay.
question, Robert Rules of Order, call the question.
You know, a question like that is to stop discussion, but that's all right. I'm not gonna beat it to death.
We're not going to discuss this because it should be on the agenda for an open meeting. Let's do it in 2 weeks. We can have all the discussion we want on whether we're going to fluoridate water. Right now, we're talking about if we're going to accept this
Yeah,
bid.
and
I'm
the bid
voting
is,
no.
yeah, I got, the bid is about locking in a price. That's what it is. Okay, I'm all willing to vote on it. We understand what it is. We have two people voting not to purchase fluoride. I'm voting for
If you call the
purchasing.
question, we'll know for sure what we're voting for.
And that's what I'm supposed to restate the motion. That's what it is.
Please do.
We have two people voting to not purchase fluoride. We have one person that's voting to secure the price for fluoride. All in favor, say aye, the motion.
Aye.
No, okay, so there we are. Let's move on. I'm not angry with anybody. I just have some concerns. And we can discuss it later.
And then we'll have it on the agenda.
Yep. We're taking a big risk, so let's move on.
Okay, so the next one is executive session, so.
Make a motion.
No, I'm just saying that, I'm just saying the,
We'll move to executive session.
I wanna move up the leases as well. And I think the last one here is the
How about the health contributions?
That's the executive session.
Do we have the Mack truck?
Yeah, it's fine, it's fine. Let's get it down here, so.
And then you said you had to bring Clyde in for the other one.
Yes, you wanna go ahead and get him?
We're gonna get him to do that now, aren't
You got it? Thanks.
we? Yeah,
Yeah, he'll have to do
I'm
that.
just trying to really understand what we're doing. I understand. I want to make sure people understand what we're doing. I know I'm not removing it right now. We got another year's supply. I realize that.
All right, so the Mack dump truck purchase and financing, okay?
Yes, so
So the item for consideration, so we're going to consider approval of the purchase of 2025 Mack dump truck from Clarksburg Mack Services, their sales and service off of 19. They're a Sourcewell contract. The Mack truck has a Sourcewell contract, which means we don't have to bid this out. It's already been through the bid process through Sourcewell, so it's kind of like a piggyback contract. So we are a member of the Sourcewell contract group. So to justify this purchase, if you look down here under financial justification, and I had Clyde put this together. So the thought, Bobby says, we need a truck. We need a big dump truck so we can haul our own gravel and haul treatment sludge out of the sludge press down here. And I said, okay, well, let's work and see if it's worth the purchase, if we can justify for that purchase. Because the finance director was real hesitant till he did this justification and then he was on board. So start with waste management. That's where we haul our sludge from the belt press down here at the press, all the sludge. So what we have down there now is we rent a trailer that they have in there. So when we fill that trailer up, Bob calls waste management and they come out whenever they feel like coming out, grabbing that trailer, dumping it and bringing it back. Okay, so we're paying for the hauling, paying for the rental of that trailer, and of course, the fee over at the dump, which we'll always have that, because we gotta pay for the disposal. So Clyde went back through for a year and pulled all the statements that we had from Waste Management and took out the dump fee and just looked at just the transportation costs and the rental fee for that trailer. So that, plus they have this energy surcharge they have in there, so you can't forget that. So in a year's time, that's $28,823.03. So that's just on transportation hauling fees for Bob's sludge to get to the landfill. All right, so Bobby says, hey, I get, 100 ton, no, what you said, 26 loads. So 26 loads at 100 ton each from Shiloh, which is a new vendor that we have. It's a little cheaper than where he was getting from Greer. So he likes the stone and compacts real good, so that's where we buy our stone from. So Clyde did the same thing, pulled all the statements and the hauling fees just for the stone in a year's time is $23,400. So those two together is $52,223.03. So then I called Country Roads Leasing, once Bobby went over there and got us a quote on a Mack. He got a quote on a Peterbilt that was a little bit more money. Historically, I have not had good success with Peterbilt products. I've had good success with Mack. And it's local, because he would have to go, Pittsburgh, Ohio, or somewhere to get it worked on.
That's out on 19 by
Right.
Victory.
If we went to Peterbilt, he'd have to go to Ohio to get it worked on. Mack, we could have it
Mack's
worked
out
on
here.
right here on 19, and it's local. So he went out there and brought back the quote. So you also have that in here. So again, the Peterbilt was $248,000. The Mack was a little bit cheaper, and it's apples to apples. They're $242,883.62. So if you look, and Clyde done the calculations based on an interest rate of 7%, which is the kind of the going level or the going rate for that. So actually, the lease purchase rate came in less than that. Yeah, so it's 6.10 for a 5-year term. The finance director recommended that we do a 6-year term at 6.25%. So that is $4,321.34 a month, which is close to what Clyde had there. So you can kind of see what this, in 6 years, we're going to have a truck that's paid off, and all transportation cost is just going to be the maintenance of the truck and fuel. That's it. Because the guys get paid anyway, they're going to be hauling the stuff. And Bobby can go
And
get us.
the dumping fee. That's
Yeah,
it.
just the dumping fee, and then of
You're
course.
going to have that no matter what.
Exactly. So to me, it's a no-brainer. I was
Well,
thankful to Clyde that he put this together. And as you can see, even the payments don't equate to the savings. It's actually less.
Well, my thinking on it is this. We're paying $50,000 to them. Forget the dumping fees.
And we have nothing to show for it.
50,000, and we're just paying it. 50,000 will cover our payments. We're paying ourselves and buying a truck. That's the no-brainer.
And after 6 years,
And
that
after
goes
that, we
away.
don't have that. All we have is the dumping fee and maintenance.
And this truck will last 25 years. I
So
mean,
I think it's,
these
I
trucks
think it's a good
are built to
program.
run.
And you say we have, them,
400,000
you're gonna have some
miles.
money to pay for it.
We could probably make a little bit of a down payment on it and go ahead and put like maybe like $50,000 to $60,000 down payment on it and then finance the rest.
Is this price fully equipped?
It's fully equipped, right?
It's everything, I mean, we're not adding on anything else.
We're not adding CD players and that kind of
It's
Basic truck.
everything's on it.
Yeah,
Got
we'll
the
get it
automatic
later
park
out,
on it.
probably get some lights on
fancy
it.
lights and all that.
No, it's already got lights in it.
Does it?
And it's
So just decals.
decals.
How about the maintenance of it? Can our guys do that? Like,
Yeah, but it's got a warranty. I don't know how long the warranty is, but the oil changes and all that,
Routine maintenance.
we
they
can
can
do all that.
Significant, they can go to Mac right here.
Yeah.
Guys, any more questions on this, Paul? Sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah,
I like
What do you think?
I think it's great.
I guess you could do a motion to do this.
So I'll need a motion,
I'm making-
one to purchase it from Mack.
I make a motion that we purchase from Mack.
And then we'll get the dollar amount, because we
This
have to
amount of
state.
price of $242,883.62.
I'll second this.
second,
All seconded. I need more discussion of, so the vote is to purchase the truck at the amount stated. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Okay, motion carries.
And then the second motion is that you're gonna finance that $242,883.62
Lease purchase.
with Country Roads Leasing
I mean,
for the 6-year term at 6.25%.
Do we want to do a down payment? Because if we do a down payment, that probably should be a part of your motion.
how much did you
I'd say
say we could do 50?
Well,
I think we can go ahead and do
So it'll be
50.
192,000.
We can say not to exceed, right, Paul?
Yeah, not to
We're working
exceed.
out something.
Not
That
to
way we
exceed
can-
200,000,
Say again?
not to exceed 200,000 then, because we could put 50,000 down.
Yeah, you can say that.
We might, it depends on what he can put down.
Yeah, we should be able to put down
Just to a not
50,000.
exceed.
Okay.
We should be able to put down 50,000.
Okay, I'll second that.
Just the term and stuff he said for 6 years and so on.
Now with the, with
And-
Country Roads
Yeah, because
leasing
once they look at it, they might,
under lease, for a 6-year lease at the interest rate of 6.25.
And less any down payments and so on, so that'll lower it down.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the rents and interest rates and all that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Good deal. All right.
All right, Clyde's in the room, so we'll go back to before we go to executive session.
We're going to short line.
We are going to do the O&M agreement that we have with Shortline. Clyde's got some updates there. He's been out there a couple times since you all last met. And he'll go over some of the stuff that he's discovered. Him and Eric been over there a couple times. So you got the floor.
Okay, well, Shortline presents some challenges. First one for what we're looking at is the communications. Right now, we depend on the cellular communications to get our work orders out and back from our service personnel.
Mhm.
Well, as soon as you leave the office area over there, you don't have any of that. So I've been working with Verizon, and they've actually dispatched a group of their engineers out to Wallace. And they were trying to determine what our options were. Tomorrow, I have a call with them to figure out what we can do using satellites for our communications out there. And if we can get satellites with our vehicles, the ones that are going to be assigned to that area, then we can share off of that satellite so they have Wi-Fi services to their phones and to their iPads. So then we'll be able to establish that communication again. So I won't know what the final results of that are until tomorrow when I talk to Verizon, but they did dispatch a group of engineers out there to figure out what the options were. The other issues that we found out there is that their existing network is inadequate to communicate with us. If the office was to be left open, we have to do some things inside of that for them to be able to run the software that we house here. So that's another issue, and we've been working on that. We've ordered a couple of things just to see if we can inexpensively help them. Because right now they're a one machine operation and they've got two machines there. And what's happening is that the machine that's not able to run their software is trying to communicate through their Wi-Fi devices, and it's just inadequate. So our goal was to just cable it up directly to their router. And that's where we're at right now. We ordered a device to put on the machine that's not working, and it was in a very expensive piece. And we're going to go back out and try to get that hardwired in.
Jim, DSL company?
It's not even that.
It's pretty bad.
It's
Dial up.
it's many things, yeah. So that's where we are on that piece. About a month ago, we drafted up something for Starla to send to her existing software vendor to explain to them what's happening and what we needed from them. So a month has passed by, and today they worked out something with Starla, but the problem is their data extraction can take up to 30 days. And it's 30 days. We're going to have to assume it's 30 days each time you ask for that extraction. And we need it at least twice. We need one extraction for me to be able to write the programs to import the data into our system. Then we need a final one for getting the customer balances and everything else updated.
This is monthly.
So if it takes a month, then we're in late May, and it's going to take me a little while to write those programs because it's just we're inventing the wheel here, bringing that data in.
What's our deadline? July 1? Was that what we're shooting for? And that may be pushing hard now.
Yeah, and I don't think that's possible.
I don't think it's realistic,
No.
but we've got an agreement.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have to keep billing from their system until he can get it converted over. So he may not start being able to bill until maybe July and
Yeah.
August, right?
It depends. I mean, I'll know as soon as they get the information extracted, then I'll start. And I don't think I'm going to have difficulty converting the data because I've been doing this for so long, it's secondhand to me. It's just as long as they can extract it in a format that is good.
Yeah.
Because they do have some things in there. I looked at their data already through the viewer, so that they're using an older database. So I looked at that and they do have encryption taking place on some of the data items inside of that. So would they have to export that stuff for us because we can't override that. So that's where we are on that. That was pretty discouraging when they said that it would take them that long.
The time limits.
And the other option was to bring them on site for 7 days, but then you've got that expense. So this isn't for free. The vendor's going to charge for that 30-day extraction. It's going to be a $4,000 charge.
How can we absorb that system and bring them into our billing system as all of our customers are? Like as far as how we read meters and it goes right into our, I mean, is that what you're saying? You have to recreate to be able to?
I'm bringing all their data into our current operations, so they will work just like we do.
But is there a way that they can start receiving it that way? So you're not trying to,
No,
there's no way to do
No.
that.
And they started putting the new meters in and all that. And the radio reads, drive-by or drive-bys, okay.
it would be good if we had a little control over how that's happening, because they completed 2 books and now they are replacing meters that don't require a lot of work, like the meter well work and things. So it feels haphazard right now. And you're going to have some of the books you're going to have set up as radio reads partially and manual reads partially. So it's going to be different because now we're going to be supporting our reading system here. Their reading system is completely different. So we're going to be supporting another one, and then we're going to have a section of manuals. So it's going to be 3 different reading methods that we're using.
What do they use, Neptune, or who are they using?
It's
So apparently it's not Neptune.
the meter company is
Sensitive?
that Camstrup.
Camstrup, that's it.
Okay.
There's another city in West Virginia, it's a Kaiser that uses it.
I'm not sure.
There's another water system that uses it, they swear by it. They're kind of new to the market, at least here in the United States, because it's a Denmark company, right?
Yeah, they built a plant in Georgia, so they'd have a presence here.
So, yeah. The only thing I add to that is, Jason, Clyde, and I met with Zach Dobbins on April the 11th. He really opened our eyes up because he's done this stuff for other agencies, consolidation and, dissolving other agencies and how it's to be done. So some of the things that we were wanting to do, we kind of got a different perspective after meeting with him. So we wanted to, again, this is all fluid right now. It's nothing we're gonna land on. We still gotta do our due diligence here. Is we wanted to keep that office open over there for
Convenience.
at least maybe 6 to 8 months to get people used to it. Well, that is a huge cost if we do that. So we're taking an agency over so we can run it effective. And save money in places we can save. So it's doubtful that we're going to keep that office open, maybe for a month as we change things over.
Transition.
Try to get the customers over and get them signed up. So maybe, definitely no more than 2 months. We really like to just do it a month. So we're gonna be bringing those staff members over into our office. The one's gonna come over before that in our customer service area. Then we'll bring over the other ones right at July 1st. Again, Starla, the general manager, will probably be staying over there in that office at least for the 30 days. And then she will relocate here to our office. The field personnel will come over and I'll have to hire Bob, another member. So he'll have 4 crews that will take care of our system and their system. So just because we have that 4th crew doesn't mean that crew's going to be designated for out there. He's just going to have an extra crew to not only do our existing system and their system. So it's not going to be, he may utilize the 2 guys coming over out there until people get comfortable with that system. They're gonna be used all over our system, not just out there. So, did I miss anything?
Care if I add
Yeah.
anything? And also too, is if we do go over, let's say, we don't have their data imported in by June 30, okay? And they have to continue billing for this there. What will have to happen is their books will close on June 30, and then that period of time after, they'll have to have an audit for that period, and then they'll have to have, and then, let's say they go in 2 months into the new fiscal year before we start fully taking over their transactions and everything. They'll have to do a PS report and an audit for those 2 months before we actually bring in their accounting data, okay? So they'll have to have 2 audits for basically, they'll have to have an audit for the 2 months and then an audit at the end of the year audit.
Yeah.
So that way there we have, audited data that we're gonna bring into our system, which we know, which that makes me feel better, because going into 2 months and then us using their data for 2 months and then have to get an audit on that it's just, I wanna make sure we have good data come over here before we bring their stuff in. And he said that's real common. He said that's what they're required to do. They'll have to have an audit, that area will have to have an audit as well, even though it's only for 2 months, they'll have to have an audit for those 2 months.
Can I ask a question outside of this, or we're done with this part of it? Since we're making an acquisition of a utility that has a debt, they've got bonds and so on.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
And the thing is, when we take it over, I've always wondered, can we just assume that real low, 0 interest, or their favorable position, and we have to finance?
We have an
And
answer
do our
for you, because
bondholders,
that was one of our
and do our
questions.
bondholders have to, because we're taking new debt?
Absolutely, yes.
So what happens there, Jason?
So first off, we can't fully acquire them and dissolve them until the project that they are currently on, so Thrasher, we need to ramp it up. We've got to get Green Rivers to get their work done
Close out.
and close out by at least March of next year, so we can finish the transaction. Is that doable?
I know very little about, I am your engineer, I do not
Well,
work for them.
you get
I
with,
will find
you
out.
get with Eric.
Want to work for them.
So what's the magic?
I will still work for you.
What's the magic date of March? What's that?
Then that gives us April, May, and June
Do the,
to get, because we're gonna have to refinance the bonds.
that's what I thought.
Okay, those bonds will have to be refinanced, but the good thing is the terms stay the same.
The terms stay the same, but it could cost us more money.
The only thing that's gonna cost us is a little bit of Tom's time, because he's gotta get.
What if the rates are higher?
We're basically.
No, the rates aren't gonna be higher,
We're
it's the
just changing-
same, we're gonna refinance it at the same terms.
Oh,
So their 0% is our 0%.
Oh, so we can't maintain term and
Yes.
rate. Oh, I didn't realize
So
that.
basically, they're just gonna
That's
change, they're just gonna change the name. They're just basically gonna change the name, but
Don't let
yes,
us do that then.
but we'll have to, the bondholders is our same bondholders.
So we're really assuming it, but we're changing it.
They have to do like another reissuance, but it don't have to be the whole big shebang.
Yeah, it don't have to be that $25,000,
Same
So-
terms, same rate, so we're still in the same
Okay.
amortization of the.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Just
just basically, our name goes in place of Shoreline's name.
Good.
It's a pretty simple process.
And we still have the problem with getting the approval through the legal system with this new way.
We're still gonna move forward just as we planned. That was the advice from the attorney, is that we move forward. Just like we signed an agreement, we're still gonna follow through with
I
that.
get a question probably every week about, all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, that's how that works. I was glad to see that the terms weren't gonna change, because that was my worry.
I was concerned too.
Oh, I
We
was
both
the
are.
big
We
time
all
worried,
concerned.
yes. But that's how that works. Now, we have to go before city council
Yeah, because of the,
because we're assuming additional debt. So we still gotta go before.
But their rates pay for it. It's already
Absolutely.
taken,
Oh,
so it's
yes.
nothing but.
it's factored in. We're the owner of it.
Yes,
And their debt service is taken care of by their customers.
that's
That's
correct.
right, yeah.
Seemed like a pretty good deal.
Oh, yeah.
We got a lot of geographical area.
Yeah.
With 1,200 people, but we got a lot of money.
Another 100 miles of line.
Clear out into Wetzel County. It's good.
But there's potential lumber port, like we were
Oh,
talking
we
about.
get lumber.
We haven't
port.
really got an accurate count, because Clyde went back through the data. They say 1,200 customers, but we think it's more than that, don't we?
Well, in their customer file, I saw 1,700 entries.
Whoa.
So I don't know if they have garbage in there or what, and I don't know.
The PSC says 1,200, but he says, well, their billing data is saying something different. So I guess we'll find out when he gets the actual import data. He'll be able to, get a good accurate count. So there's no actionable items on that. But when you make a motion, I'd like to have Jason and Clyde in here. Jason just for the first item, and then he can leave. And then Clyde will take care of his stuff.
For executive session, I'll make the motion to an executive session.
I second that.
Clyde, attorney.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.